Welcome to Future Prospect, guys. I am excited. From Toronto, Ontario, we have the Hoffman family. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hi, sweetie. So it's Clayton. Hi, Clayton.
Hi.
Hi, Katie.
Hi.
Bayan. Hi, sweetheart. And Kansan. Rockin'. Oh, yeah. So, guys, your story came to me by a good friend of mine's, Michelle Taras, on pictures that she posted on Black Lives Matter, the march that took place. And I took your pictures, embraced them in another show that I did. And I had to have you on because she just talks so much about you. She goes, guys, you got to get him on the show. And with all what's happening now, and it hasn't gone away, it's still a conversation, you guys embrace my hearts with your beautiful story. And through this, let's try and create some great change. So I'd like you to introduce yourself, sweethearts, to the viewers. Anybody can go.
Hi, I'm Katie. I don't know what exactly to say. I'm 40 years old this year. Clayton and I have been married for 6 years now, and we have these two beautiful children.
Yes.
How old are you, babe? 5 years old.
Yes.
And then who's 8 months old.
Oh, beautiful. Girl, let me tell you something. You look awesome for 40 years old.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Awesome. Okay, Clayton, introduce yourself, please, my love.
My name is Clayton Hoffman. I'm a contractor. This is my lovely wife and family, and I'm just happy to be here to be able to talk about some things that are on our minds.
That's right, honey. Now, where do you all live? I said Toronto, but where in Toronto do you live?
Etobicoke.
Etobicoke. All right. Now, why is it, how would I say that? I don't want to kind of jump into it, but your story came to me because of the racial issues that we're dealing with now, right? Now, you're in a interracial marriage like myself, right? And your story really touched me because you went into so many different areas. So why is this story or this topic so relevant to you? Why is it so important to continue talking about?
Well, I think it's an important conversation because of everything going on currently in the world, but also just from before in general. It's very important. And there's two aspects to it, right? I think when we're talking about Black Lives Matter, we feel this very deeply, of course, because we have 2 Black children. I'm married to a Black man. This affects us greatly. And then the other token to this is when you are in an interracial marriage, it becomes sometimes more difficult to discuss certain things because of my own color of skin, right? And yes. I think as a mother, regardless of my color, the pain that mothers experience when our children are discriminated against is very real.
Right.
And it's something that affects myself, and I'm sure many women out there. And we all need change right now. Not just us, this entire world needs and can be better. And to be better, we need to have these discussions. And although they're uncomfortable, they need to happen.
Absolutely. Now, Clayton, how did you shared a story with me? How did you meet this beautiful wife of yours? How did you meet? Can you share that with us, and then we can get into the story?
So we met, funnily, through basketball.
Yeah.
She would come to a men's pickup run, which is at a high school that I didn't go to, but I've been playing basketball at since I was probably 14 years old.
Right.
And when we met later in life, obviously probably late 30, early 30s. And she was there, she was playing, and she was with somebody at the time, and I didn't approach her. I never, there was no indication that she was interested at any point, until one day she had broken up with that person, and she came and she asked the convener, the guy who was running the program, to get my phone number. And he messaged me and said, she's asking for your number. Is it okay if I give it to her? And I said, sure. Yeah. And that's what it was the beginning. And then she asked if I wanted to ride home one day, and that started our relationship. That was the beginning of a family.
Beautiful. So when she messaged you to ask you to drive you home or offer to take you home, how did you take that? Like, were you shocked, or like, you know what I mean? Like a woman wanted to take you home, drive you home? Like, how did you feel?
Well, I came to basketball that day, and she saw me and asked me if I wanted to ride. So it was, I was just like, okay, cool. That's fine. That's awesome. Thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate you offering me a ride. And I didn't really have any, I don't know, it was just natural. Like, it was just like, okay, let's just see where this goes. There was no pressure. And I think that's why it kind of worked out the way it did, because there was no real pressure. It was just like, okay, I think we can get to know each other and see how it works.
Absolutely.
I mean, we had basketball in common, right? Which always, when you share a sport or a love of something, it makes it really easy, you know?
Yes.
And I remember the first time we went for drinks, actually, after that day that I drove him home, we had some really big conversations, actually. Like, we talked about, I remember he specifically talked about kids and how he would want them to be raised. And
the first date?
Yeah, we talked about some big stuff. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought, I'm older.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't think I want to. Like, if somebody doesn't want kids, it was automatic. It was an automatic kind of situation, right? I knew I wanted at least one or two. Oh,
sorry about that.
That's okay. We froze for a bit, but that's okay.
It's interesting because some of the stuff that we talked about that very first night, we talk about to this day in our marriage, like the importance of having a mother, right? Mm-hmm. And a mother who's present for the children, which is something I always, of course, wanted to do, but it's something, unfortunately, he didn't get to have growing up. And we talked about the importance of the parents being present in the home. Like, it's all things that we actually are applying now, which is wonderful. And even the importance of having discipline, especially for young boys, and specifically because we're talking about it, Black young boys, and the need to be able to follow rules and to listen, because unfortunately society has different standards, and we talked about this from day one.
Right.
What we had to do to give our children the best chance in life.
You see, you both, throughout the pre-interview, you both had very, very strong values. Am I wrong to say that? Your values were very strong, and they were very evident that you wanted to place them when you talk about your family. But Clayton, do you mind if I ask you, when you said you never had a mother, do you mind if I ask if you can share with the viewers, because if you don't mind, a little bit, on how you came from Jamaica, and a lot of young men don't have fathers or mothers, and they're looking for role models to help them navigate through life. So if you can just share a little bit of your story, that would be really inspiring.
Well, I came here when I was 7.
Yes.
My father brought me here from Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
My mother lived in Jamaica, but I didn't live with her. I lived with my dad's mom, which was my grandma.
Right.
And when I came here, it was a very foreign, like very different place. You know, it's cold and people. I have an accent when I first came, which clearly is gone now, but then it was pretty evident.
Yeah.
So then, you know, my father and I didn't really click because we just didn't have like that kind of relationship where it was, you know, I was more in fear of him than respect. It was a fearful relationship, and I ended up in foster care because of it. And foster parents, years back and forth, kind of with my dad and foster parents, and having foster mom, but you know, never really feeling like a part. You know, I always sort of felt alone. in all of these scenarios. It could be 10 people around. I still feel kind of on my own, trying to navigate life, as it were, which was through the foster care system.
Yes.
When I became 18, I moved out on my own. I basically been living on my own since I was 18.
Wow.
Yes, roommates have been there, but that you're taking care of yourself. You have to provide groceries. You have to learn things that most 18-year-old male or female are not having to navigate through, because they're usually at home and their parents usually take care of most of these things. And I've had a job since I was probably 12, 13, working, whether it be taking care of, snow shoveling or having a paper route, and then eventually a job at McDonald's. My life has always been sort of take care of yourself and survive.
Yep.
Try to survive versus, the opposite, which is sort of like just get abilities and then succeed. I'm always just trying to get to the next spot, and that's sort of changed now. So now it's more about trying to have my kids flourish and not have to feel like they're surviving. So that's essentially my background.
That's right, hon. Your story really touched me because you've done so much with your life in just a short time that we spoke. Now, I've only got, let's say, 1 minute before I go to break, and I don't want to lose this question because I want to embrace it in the second segment. Why is it important for you to be a father, a role model, not a friend, to your children?
I didn't have that. There was I don't explain it. It's like you have these compartmentalized people you meet, and you sort of take snippets of them. And essentially that was how I went through life. It was I was taking snippets, but you're getting a very small sample of what is actually happening with that person. You don't actually get to know them, so you try to take the best of them.
Yes.
But you miss so much. You miss the ability to be able to speak your feelings, to be able to ask questions,
right,
to be truly open and honest about your emotions. And as I feel like as a black male, that's something that, or as a male in general, I feel like not just a black male, a male in general, showing emotion is viewed as a negative thing. And I still think to this day, I have friends that are like, if you suggest emotion, it's like, what? No, you don't do that. You don't talk about that. You don't mention those feelings. And
that's right.
I'm not like that. I feel like I like to emphasize what I'm feeling, because if I don't, then it's like I'm holding that in, and it kind of creates a negative feeling inside of me, which I don't like. And I'd rather, my wife is great because she lets me tell her what I'm feeling, and she likes to say what she's feeling, so it works really well.
You do. On that note, my love, I gotta go to break.
Okay.
Yeah, stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back. Awesome.
You too.
Welcome back to Future Prospects with Katie and Clayton Hoffman. Oh my God, Clayton, where you shared your story and Katie shared your story of how you met, and then you shared your life story from coming from Jamaica, and your thoughts and everything on being a father was so touching to me. And that's the reason why I do what I do. But I don't want to take away from this. Just before we get into some great conversation, you had a conversation with the producer on break, and he asked you, did you allow Katie to play the game? And I didn't hear it too well because through Skype, but can you share that? Did you allow her to share the ball? Do you allow her to have the ball? Like, what did you do?
Of course, no, because there's a men's run, everybody kind of shared, and I would cover other people, and then a lot of the other guys would kind of give her, they wouldn't give her the respect that she deserved.
That's right.
I would get frustrated because then she would light them up, which is she would score on them repeatedly, and then we'd be down 4-1, and I'd be like, if you're not going to guard her, don't play. I'll guard her then, and you can guard the guy that I'm guarding. Because I'm like, if she's playing, you got to play her with respect, and you got to treat her like the same way you treat every other guy on the court.
That's right.
There's no like, you're a girl. No. You're playing ball. You're a baller. That's it. There's no in between. So you better play hard.
Yeah.
She played really hard.
Good.
Made sure I played hard on her as well.
But he blocked me one time. I love reminding him of this. He blocked me one time so hard I bounced off the ground. So he wasn't playing around. If I was going to play with them, I had to be ready for it.
Oh, my God. So Clayton and you're pretty competitive, right?
Oh, yes. If it comes to basketball, yeah.
We're both very competitive, actually.
In general, in sports in general.
That's right.
You should play hard.
Yeah.
So do you guys play still now? Like, does someone watch the little ones for you and you go out and play some games?
Yeah, like pre-COVID, of course. Yeah, we were both still playing at least once a night. It's kind of our night out. So I would go on Mondays and Clayton would go on Tuesdays or something like that. Like, it's rare that we get to play together anymore because someone has to stay with the kids.
Yes.
But yeah, we're still both avid fans, and we try and play when we can. Yeah.
I hope it goes back to being able to play again because I really feel like I miss.
I know. But August the 1st, the Raptors start up again, right?
We're ready. Yeah, I think the first pregame is this Friday, actually. But
this Friday. Oh no! We're counting because Sean mentioned it. My husband. So you got to send me the message on DM, okay? I need to know so I can tune in.
I'll let you know for sure.
Yes. But back to you guys now. I love basketball. Your story came to me by Michelle Taras, and I'm wearing her outfit if anybody can see. But your story came to me because it literally touched my heart. And through the pre-interview, it did. And you were walking the pitches in a march for Black Lives Matter. Now, I want you to share with the viewers, the conversation is kind of it's there, but it's not televised. We don't see anything anymore. Right. You know, in America, you've seen people protesting, burning this, burning that, which was not the people for Black Lives. It was something else, but that's another show. But it's like we don't hear about it. So I want to keep the topic relevant. I need to keep the conversation going, which we've talked about. So why is it important to you? What issues, I'm going to ask questions, but why is it important to keep the conversation going?
I think it's important because if we want change, people need to be aware. Like, way too often do I hear that, oh, Canada isn't like that, though. There isn't racism in Canada. And I could easily share 5 stories right off the top of my head where I've watched my son be discriminated against because of his color, either through action or verbally. And probably because I'm Caucasian, people feel that they're able to say certain things to me that they wouldn't otherwise. I'm not sure, but it's very real, and it happens everywhere in Canada, I would venture to say, and we have to increase awareness of this for change to occur. Like, we want our children to have the same chances and opportunities in life as everyone else.
Right.
And for that to occur, something has to give.
Yes.
And for something to give, people need to open their eyes and see what's really happening. Because maybe Canadians are more polite about it, but it's there.
Yes.
I think it was it Donovan Bailey? He says, Canadians give you racism with a smile. And it was an article that I read, and I was like, yeah, it's and it's not like very direct all the time. It's kind of like undertones, or it's I'm not even sure if the person realizes that it was racist. So from my experience in my life, it's been actually scarier now because I have kids. So I feel like I could control. Like, when I was a kid, I would always defend myself. I feel I always had that in me. I was not afraid. to speak up or protect myself if something were to happen. But now I have kids, and I'm like, I can't protect them the same way that I could protect myself.
Mm-hmm.
How do I prepare them for these scenarios that are going to come for them in their life, even though they didn't ask for that? How do I help them with that? And this is a question that essentially is an everyday thought process. Even though it should be like, I should be able to send my kids to school and not worry about the fact that he's darker than the other kids. He should be able to function like any other kid. And that's essentially the conversation, is that when do we actually truly officially see change in all aspects of people's minds? You know, it's not just like, oh, I see a black boy, he's like this. It's like, no, I see a boy and he's like this. Or I see a person and they're like this. And it's not, we need to individualize situations versus trying to generalize on all people. Like, it doesn't matter whether you're black, white, especially with black, it's like, there's already an assumption of a negative that happens. So it's quite frustrating.
This very frustrating, very, very frustrating. I have dealt with it myself within my community. And it was quite a long time ago, but it was a story that I never shared until the Allison Herald wanted me to share in the area. So I've dealt with, oh my gosh, Michael, our son, when he came out, you know, Katie, when they're born, the skin is lighter, right? And he had beautiful blue eyes. And he says, Mom, Dad, where are my blue eyes? Like, you know what I mean? Because, you know, it goes with the skin. Like, you know, you're trying to, you know, etc. But the lady was open with me at the YMCA or somewhere, I don't know where it was, a church gathering, you know, we're kind of doing our thing, mothers all playing with their kids. And she looked at me and she says, oh, is that your child? And I looked at her and I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, just keep calm. And I said, yes, it is. But the thing is, people have they feel comfortable in asking and using certain phrases or jokes or sarcasm, not knowing it's wrong. So what?
Of course.
Yeah. So what?
Even my father, when Bayan was born, I'll never forget it. He was like, "Oh, he's so light." These were some of his first comments, and right away I shut it down. I responded, "Yes, he is for now, but he's going to darken." And he's going to get dark, dark, dark. And then he was like, oh, and what did he say about his hair? His hair is straight. And I said, no, and it's going to curl. And I said, and we're going to grow it as big as it can go. Like, from the beginning, I put my father. And now my father comes to see him, and he's like, oh, doesn't he look like me?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of, I think these comments come from ignorance.
Yes.
And I think we have to hit the nail on the head and address the ignorance and make people understand, right? What
you can't necessarily make. I feel like you need to give people a different viewpoint of, like, me. I'm just me. I'm myself. I try to be nice no matter what in any scenario, because if you're usually nicer, the eventually person will see you for who you are.
Yes.
Instead of viewing it just as that black guy, I've become that neighbor, or that guy is pretty nice. I like that guy. Or, you know, I've run into situations like that where I live, where it's like somebody said, you know, I'm not usually a fan of guys like you, but I like you.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Good to see you. But I just don't engage in a way where it's like, because if you engage sort of anger with like, that anger, it only creates more divide.
That's right.
You have to show the person that this is who I am, and who I am is actually somebody you could be friends with. I could actually have a conversation with you, and you don't have to feel anything negative about me.
That's right.
The reason why you feel something negative is because you see this.
That's right.
I can't control this.
That's right.
I'm born as, and I like it. I'm sorry. I shouldn't.
I love it.
Apologize for feeling or looking the way I do. Now, that's on you to make that decision to change. Yes, I can present you with myself, but at the end of the day, the person at the other end receiving the information has to be willing to be open. If they're not open, then there's nothing we can do to make that person change other than be yourself and keep being yourself. That sort of ignorance or that level of ignorance is not something you can change. You can give them some information, but you can only make sure as yourself you're doing better.
Right.
Make sure they can see that. And in this world that we live in, it's not always going to be fair, but
Nope.
in the areas where it should be, and most critically, employment, I mean, everyday, like just being able to communicate and walking down the street. Like I shouldn't feel like scared.
Do you feel scared walking down the street?
Depends on where I am, yeah.
What do you mean depends on where you are?
Depends on where I went to school in a small town for college, and the first 2 years of being there, I felt scared if I was by myself.
Why? But this is 2020. This
I
is
know, but I went to college in a long time ago. We're not going to say the year.
Right. Okay.
But
all right.
I felt like I always felt I was like, I'm going to go somewhere. I always either went with friends, or if I was by myself, I never walked in certain times in certain areas because I ran into situations where people would say things to me. Like an example was I was walking home from a bar, but I was with a friend, and this young man, this lady, sorry.
Can you hold that thought?
Yeah.
I want to grab as much of your story as possible because we'd have to bring out the donuts.
Okay.
Guys, we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Awesome job, guys. Welcome back to Future Prospects with the Hoffman family, with Katie and Clayton. My God, there was so much to digest in this, but such good nuggets of wisdom. So, Clayton, you're walking back from the bar with your friend. What did you have to deal with, my friend?
Well, we were just walking, and we're on the way home, and another couple sort of walks up on the next side of the street, and the young man started to just say, "Hey, you, what's up?" And he's talking to me, and he's talking to us, and I'm like, "Oh, not much. Like, how are you doing?" Yeah. He's like, "Where were you?" I was like, "I was at the bar having drinks with friends," and it's like, "Hey, so why do you think you should be here?"
Whoa.
And at the end, he calls me. I'm like, "Well, because I'm here with my friend, and I'm going home." And I didn't react negatively. I just was like, "Okay." That's the end of the conversation, basically. For me, it was
right.
Nice to meet you. The young lady that I was with got very angry. She was like about to assault him. And I said, no, don't, this is not what we need to do. At the end of the day, if the police show up, it's not going to be him that's arrested. It's going to be me. And I just said, hey, it's cool. I go, you have a good night. We're going to move on. And she's literally screaming at him like, you racist, get out of here. You're a terrible human being. And I'm like, it's okay. Just let it go. And those are one scenario, but I've had numerous of those things happen in my life where it's like, oh, okay. And it's out of nowhere. It's the weirdest moments too. Like I was with my soccer team in a bar, and some dad got mad at me and called me the N-word in the middle of the bar. I was like, okay, what did I do to deserve that? So it's like, there's no real reasoning half the time. It's just somebody's either inebriated or frustrated with something, and they feel the need to vent, and I'm usually there. And I never take it personally because I'm like, I've never met you, and there's nothing to what you're saying is true to me.
Yes.
Because I know I'm not that.
You got it.
So what you're doing is just trying to create a situation to infuriate me, to get me to do something violent.
Push buttons.
And that's exactly that word is a push button word to me. And if you can, I understand it's not good to hear it, but if we can respond to it in a different way, that's maybe teaching the other person or being able to give the person like some insight. It's like this is my life, and I'm different in terms of outside, but on the inside we're the same. Our lungs help us breathe. We're both human beings. So if at the most that you're gonna do is try to get me mad, I'm just gonna try to end the conversation as nice as possible
and move on.
That's
right, hon. I can see Katie there now. So well said. So well said, Clayton. But your wife, when she talks, she does this. So
well, I just, even in hearing his story about college and the lady that he was with, I feel like this is such a great example of the white privilege that we talk about, because he is so great at remaining calm.
Yes.
And just not engaging, because he's had to be like that, right? Because society has forced him to be like that. Because if he engages, or God forbid goes on the attack, he will be punished. We all know that.
Yes.
Whereas me, when this stuff happens, oh my gosh, I am angry. I show my anger. Like, it is so hard for me to be the way that Clayton is able to be, to contain my emotions and to try and kill it with kindness. I have such a difficult time when comments are made to me with regard to our son or with regard to my choice of husband. It is anger that comes out. And I am very well aware that that is a direct result of the fact that I was on the side of white privilege and I am allowed those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But then that makes me even more mad.
Right.
We should all be allowed our feelings.
Katie, do you think now, I'm going to be the devil's advocate here and I'm going to be numb. Do you think there is white privilege? Like, do you think there is white privilege out there?
100%.
Share.
1,000%.
Share.
I don't even know where to begin. Like, I mean, from everything from what school you go to even like for example, like this is a small example, but our son is in the acting and modeling industry, and I'll have people say to me like, oh, you're lucky because you have a mixed child and that's popular right now.
Wow.
And by saying that, in one statement, you literally took away all of his talent, all of his hard work, everything about him that makes him so good. And you just nullified it and said, oh, he gets stuff because of the color of his skin.
Wow.
And would anyone ever say that to, like, the parent of a Caucasian boy? Would they ever say, oh, you're so lucky you have a white boy? Like, no one would ever say that.
That's right.
I mean, but technically that's what you should say.
Right.
Because he's the one who's going to have it easier later on. And I mean, I'm just calling a spade, but no one would ever say it.
Go for it.
Like, it's everywhere. It's in every single aspect of our lives, and it is why we're both very well aware in the raising of our son that he is the one that must follow the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he is with a group of kids that do something wrong and he is the one who is black and he is the one who will get blamed, and these different expectations should just not exist.
This is going to be a hard question, but I'm going to go for it because I always say now, you're going to talk, let's talk. And too much of this candy coating because the youth want to hear to move on. They don't want to inherit this toxic stuff. We've seen the marches, and the marches are full of youth from black to white to Hispanic to Indian to everywhere. They got their fists in the air saying enough is enough. So I'm going to address yourself, my love, Katie. Being a beautiful, stunning, mean mother, awesome, positive, when I say mean, positive and stand behind her children, but you're white.
I am.
When you look as a white woman now, what concerns you with how we treat the black race or indifference? What bothers you?
I mean, where to even begin? What bothers me about how we treat black people is in general, like not my.
What? Okay, I'm gonna let me restructure this. What are you so afraid of with us? Not you, but the white race. What are they so afraid of us?
Well, I truly believe that human nature is to want to feel superior to somebody or something else.
Right.
I believe that it's something in us that those of us who are aware of it are able to combat it. Like, you don't need to be better than anyone. You can be yourself, and that is good enough.
Right.
But I do feel that human nature has that they want to be better. And from forever ago, it was, really inaccurately put into place that Caucasian was superior.
Yes.
And that's what bothers me the most, to be honest, because nobody is superior to anyone here. And people need to realize that everyone is good enough. It's all inner work. It's all that everyone needs to be aware that they are good enough, and nobody needs to be better than anybody else to feel good about themselves. And but unfortunately, that's a big piece of work, and it's not going to change overnight.
Yeah. Well, that's
go.
Historically, we see that there's always been either empire or something. There's always somebody who's enslaving somebody to control and have power. And
that's right.
So what a society is like that, it's like the person in power now, because they started from a certain place of power, is still in that area of power. So it's like they gain control, they have power in terms of land, money. There's a ton of things like that have an effect on all of how
and male versus male is better than female, right? White is better than black. Like, there's all these
generalizations
that just need to go out the window. Like, it's time. Like, that's enough. We need to put that aside and move forward at trying to put everyone on the same level and just trying to make ourselves, each individual, the best that we can be.
That's right. Go ahead, Clayton.
Sorry, that change would only come with the people who are in power.
Yes.
And that essentially that turnover needs to happen, where it's older, and then somebody younger may step in, but they have a different point of view and can understand things a little differently and are more open to giving a chance to everyone versus like, oh, okay, well, this is my school buddy who went to this school, so he's hired. This is the private school you went to, so you're going to get hired here. So
yes.
That's essentially where it is. Like, I have had conversations with one of my best friends, and he's like, the difference between you and me, Clayton, is that I got the privilege of going to a private school, and I got connections through that. And those connections helped me to sort of push to where I am in my life. I'm successful because I have this privilege. I have this opportunity. And he admitted to that. He said that to me, and I was like, I was quite taken aback, but it was like, whoa, like, that's pretty, like, you actually could see that. And, he goes, I don't know what it's like to be you, and I've never experienced racism, but it's like, I see you for you, and that's why we're friends, not because of any other reason. So it's just everybody's viewpoint has to be that. Like, how can you not see people for just who they are versus what they are? Mm-hmm. And like she said, some of it has to do with people feeling like they need to show that I'm more than you.
That's right.
More than you. And that's the problem in this world, is like that thought process that to be successful is that you gotta have stuff. You have to be above everybody by having this, or you gotta have a big house, a big nice car, or you gotta live here.
That's right.
If you don't live in this neighborhood, then you're not successful. If you don't have this car, you're not successful. And that's where that has to change. It's like,
there's so much change that needs to occur on so many.
It's a mountain that we're climbing. We're going to climb it together, because I'm not giving up. Because my epitaph is going to say, I was part of change. And on that note, sweethearts, we're going to go to break. We'll be right back with Clayton and Katie Hoffman. Clayton. Hey-oh! Hi, guys. Hi, sweetheart. So, 12 minutes, guys. We got to roll this baby in. Katie, you talked with me off the show, on break, and you said, Joy, I want to touch upon being a mother. I want to touch upon my issues, my concern. Go for it, girl.
Okay, the only thing that I really wanted to discuss, and again, these are not the easiest conversations to be had,
Okay.
but ultimately, like, the mother of a black son is the mother of a black son, regardless of my own color. So as a person, I know I grew up with the white privilege that we discuss. I benefited from that, I'm sure, in every aspect of my life. However, I am now the mother of two beautiful black children, but specifically I want to address my son because it is a scary time, right? What is happening in the U.S. and again in Canada to the more polite extent, it is terrifying to be the mother of a black boy and to know that there will be a day very soon, probably sooner than I'd like, that our beautiful baby boy goes from cute in the eyes of society to a potential threat, and that fear is so alive inside of me. And I believe that all mothers of black children feel that fear and fear for the day that, they run into a police officer or a group of kids that doesn't like them for the color of their skin. And it's just scary. It's scary as a mother because you want to protect them, right? And
that's right.
My skin color certainly won't protect my son. I've seen that in real life. I cannot protect him from the words and actions of other people, unfortunately.
Right. But your wisdom, your love, your knowledge, and preparing his heart.
Yes.
Life experience is going to arm him with what he needs to do to apply. Not ignorance, but intelligence. And with the grace of God. You got it, sweet.
Absolutely.
Got it. Clayton, you talked about off camera too, and you leaned into the camera just like Katie. Success. A lot of, let's be honest here, black people that I mentor and anybody, but because we're on the issues of racism and black, they compare themselves in success and they don't feel like they're reaching it. What is your concerns and your advice to them?
Well, my concern mainly is that we're some people are trying to attain a certain level of success that they see in social media or in the general media, and it's an unrealistic expectation because those people are like a 1% of the population of the world. To be completely realistic in your goals and your aspirations is something that we need to get to. And I'm not saying that if your drive is to be a musician and a star, that's your choice. We also have to understand that comes with that is that there's a lot of hard work involved, and we need to make sure that we're trying to understand that our success is not limited to those things that we see on TV, and there's other ways to make that happen. Right? So like life, success is okay. Well, let me see. I own a house or a condo. I have a family, or I have a partner, or I have my own place, and I have a life that makes me happy. That's success. So your success has to be your own. Because if you're trying to achieve something that's just completely unrealistic or trying to put yourself you're always going to come up short, and you're always going to feel like you failed. But we have to realize the good things that we do have and come from this life that we somehow get is essentially the good success that we should be trying to attain. And I'm not a perfect example of anything because I know I've made mistakes, and I know that. But every day that I wake up, I know I'm lucky enough to have a wife that cares about me, 2 kids that we have are healthy, and that's success to me. It may not be to somebody else, but that's to me in itself is success because I'm going to try to do my best to raise our kids to the point that they're good and great human beings, not just black human beings, but human beings.
Yeah.
Wow.
All I want that would be success to me. Is real success is seeing them grow up to be good people.
Can you say what you just said again? Black, what did you just say?
Raise them to be good.
Raise them to be good human beings.
But not black.
Not black kids, not black people, but human beings.
Human beings. When I look at you, I'm going to tell you this, and I was going to finish the show with this, but I'm going to part it because we still got a bit of time. You guys are already successful. You know why? Because those two beautiful children, Bayan and Kansan, have two warriors. Two warriors that have their backs, that speak to them and tell them the truth, which a lot of parents don't do. So you guys are already successful because when you put them into the world and you let them go, they will always look back and say, whoa, man, dad told me this, mom told me this. And you've integrated beautiful human beings into the world. So when you look in the mirror tonight, love who you are, not saying you haven't, but embrace what God has put in you because those children are highly blessed and highly favored. Highly favored. That's my. You are welcome, honey. What would you like to see changes? What changes would you like to see with all of this?
My one thing back to the motherhood thing is I would just like all of us to come together, regardless of our races. We need to support each other, and not just as women. Like men, fathers need to support each other, but as mothers, we need to support each other as well. Regardless of our backgrounds and our race, we're all just trying to raise these little people to be the best that they can be, right? Yeah. And we need each other. It really does take a village, right? And there are some things that maybe I will have trouble or I won't be able to properly explain to my daughter or to my son. Again, partly because of my own skin color and just partly because of the cards life dealt us, right? We all experience things differently and we need each other. We need to be able to rely on our friends and our family and our neighbors to help raise the best children that we possibly can.
You're doing that already, girl. You're doing that already. Oh. Clayton, what's your thoughts, hon? Well said, Katie.
To be honest with you, I just would like to be able to have people see just people instead of I can't control that, but I would look forward to the day where I can just truly believe that. Right now, I think we have a long way to go, and this is only the beginning. These are the first baby steps to creating a better future. I know they abolished slavery, but there's another way to enslave people, which is by controlling their needs and their access, which is essentially just another form of that. So, like you said, systemic racism and all other things have come into place, and hopefully now people can push past that. And this conversation can't end today, next year, or when the next fad comes into place. It has to be continued on a regular basis so people have an understanding and hear the message and maybe change their viewpoint of how they see me.
Yes. Do you believe the government is keeping how would I say this? No. Do you see it happening around you every day, though? Do you see people wanting to talk about it more or kind of wanting to ask? Do you find
I'm already starting to see kind of a bit of a fade, a drop. There's been a lot. 2020 has been one of those, this is a year of just wow.
Yeah.
Like somebody said, it's going to be an acronym or a synonym for ugly. Right? So 2020, that was 2020. So it's one of those years where people have to, it's a big mess, and there's a lot to sort through. But what are we trying to get to is to be able to truly get along, not just have the visual of getting along.
That's right.
Truly getting along means we're actually all sharing and we're all being able to go and do everything that we can. I want to be able to go to the same school that you go to. I want to do it without the teacher judging me. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to walk down the street and not have an officer come over and drive his car over and say, hey, what are you doing here?
Right.
You know, and I've been in neighborhoods that have some really nice houses, and I've been asked. So, you know, I answer. I don't really get into that. I'm like, I'm going to my friend's house. You know, if you need to call them, here's the phone number. And I know sometimes people are like, well, that shouldn't happen. I'm like, yes, but I can either resist or I can say, here's the access. It makes things easier, and we can both go our separate ways, and there's no situation that arises where I'm getting hurt or when that person is losing their job or potentially losing their job, right? So all I'm in my head is all I would like to see is our son not to have to go through what I did.
Got you.
I don't want my wife to have to continually have these scenarios come up where people make random little remarks. Sure. Like even kid recently in a skate park.
Just yesterday.
Saw her playing. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
I was in Bay and the kid.
Go ahead.
He just asked me. He was like, "Oh, isn't that boy's mom over there?" And I was like, "No, I'm his mom." It happens everywhere, you know.
The mom that was sitting on the bench was a lot darker than Katie, and the young boy that saw Bain assumed that was his mom instead of like who was already playing with Bain and running around with him. I was like, oh, that's odd to me because in my head I assumed that you were his mom, but I mean I'm her husband, so it's easy for me to see her.
That's right. That's right.
Anybody who's outside of that might see things a little differently, but yeah.
Guy?
Yeah, yes, sir.
You know something? I have to have you back. Have you back because will you come back? Will you come back?
Of course, absolutely.
All right. You got to come back. I love you guys. I thank you for sharing this. We will have you back. Thank you guys. All right?
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.